Welcome aboard tonight. This is the Zoom call of December 31st. It's 6:03 p.m. We're here to discuss the weekly development of our advocacy. Our advocacy is aimed at stopping the land racket that's going on at VA West LA and reestablishing the original intended land use there, which is a home for veterans.
To even visit with our friends that we made when they were outside, you have to be a volunteer. I got the 10-page or so paperwork for volunteering, but then I realized that it'd be a conflict of interest because part of the paperwork says in so many words you can't be critical of the VA. And I found out in this process that the people that are running the show, they now consider our veterans as patients. And as patients, I feel that they should be properly housed as patients and they should be fed by the VA. They're not fed by the VA. And they don't have the freedom to have visitors. So I recently, within this last week, I filed an official complaint with the VA OIG, pointing out all these problems.
One of the biggest things, again, is having trouble getting visitors to come in, also having trouble getting volunteers to be able to come in. The Volunteer Services Department hasn't really been processing the paperwork as fast as they should. And it's one of the other things is the way the social workers are kind of running this program. It's something that we've been advocating to change. They have the social workers running the program and also the ones that are in charge of kicking veterans out. And it's kind of a conflict of interest. So we're having trouble with veterans engaging with the social workers because they feel a lot of times that they don't want to go and tell them things because the social workers are also the ones that will end up discharging them for sometimes some pretty arbitrary reasons. Just, so it's, there's a lot of improvement, but there's also, there's some stuff still going on, and we're trying to get more town halls scheduled with the VA leadership and getting them involved and getting input from the veterans. That's one of the biggest things that's not happening is the leadership at the VA is still not getting adequate input from the veterans themselves.
Security comes and asks me to leave because I shouldn't be there, and I explain them just bringing food and supplies, and I've been asked to leave because of that reason. So I'll go there and I'll meet up with some of the guys and then give a lot of the supplies that have been given to me through ways of many of the other nonprofits and donations. And so the last week, since the rain, I saw a lot of stuff going on. I mean, there was a need for like a lot of rain supplies, and it was very muddy. And we all know a lot of us know someone named Douglas who he's in a wheelchair and he has had like no ADA accessibility. So that was really like watching him with his chair going through the mud. It was impossible. And I'd heard from some of them that the shower situation, Douglas got burned. Somebody else, I can't remember who was expressing about the volunteer process. It's been impossible to do that. So there's no way to actually formally become a volunteer. And there's also that conflict of interest, as you were saying. So yeah, it's hard to be there for the community. And I think that's really problematic.
Just on top of what Jamie's saying, they have been in the beginning when we got everybody moved inside, we were able to have everyone come in and volunteers still come in and help with everything. And especially in the last month, the VA has really been basically just pushing all the volunteers out. Like I constantly get phone calls with securities telling me that they can't let people in, and it's just becoming kind of a hassle and not really getting any answers from the VA itself about why they're doing that. And it doesn't really make sense. The veterans want to have people from the community coming in and helping them, and the VA just keeps pushing it out.
They more than push people out. This is Diego. So recently, Rocio and Brian, my organization and a group of organizations that we're starting to work with, we threw an event for Christmas on the 23rd. There was a VA employee there. She turns out to be, and Rob knows her, but she turns out to be like the chief of staff for community engagement. She tried kicking out a bunch of the different organizations that were there. That turned into a shouting match. That turned into that VA employee reaching over my shoulder and choking my volunteer. Just completely unprovoked. They are hostile towards volunteers and any efforts that we bring.
All right.
No, the lady that did it was oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. It's the chief of volunteer services, Alexia Lunningham. No, Alexia Lunningham. She's the chief of volunteer services. I know that there were police reports filed. I spoke to Deputy Director McHenrick and also Matt McGarren about it. They're saying that now this is going to go up for review from Braverman about her grabbing that other female veteran by the neck. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I don't know if they're just going to try to wash it under the bridge, or I don't know. It's but it is really bad what happened.
A couple of the concerns that were raised were the tiny homes. They can be locked if you're inside, but they don't allow them to lock them from the outside. I asked if there's a mechanism that's not there, that it doesn't allow it to be locked, and I was informed that no, it actually has a key, but the staff doesn't give veterans a key to the tiny home, so it cannot lock anywhere. I found that concerning. They can't use spoons, forks, and knives unless they're plastic. In terms of the rain, it was definitely filling up. In terms of it not being wheelchair accessible, it's absolutely not. One of them mentioned that he doesn't believe there's enough bathrooms for the amount of veterans that stay there, and he mentioned like OSHA requirements. I didn't confirm this personally, but he said based on OSHA working requirements, it wouldn't even meet those standards for the amount of veterans that live there, and the amount of bathrooms, porta potties that are there. I've also that I learned some of this information, watched veterans leave asking if they need toilet paper, and I found out that they're buying their own toilet paper to use in the porta potties. One of them, as Jamie mentioned, was burned, where I literally took photos of definitely a burn, that was visible from the scalding hot shower. The veteran Douglas raised concerns and is told that it's not true and things like that. That's how they're talked to when they raise concerns. That and he says, test it yourself. Also, the showers didn't work for 3 days. They could not take a shower on Christmas Eve, the day before. I think even Christmas when I was there, those 3 days, no showers were available to them. The showers did not work. Even though I said I was just giving a veteran his mail that goes directly to me. She said, you can give it to me. I said, I think he'd prefer me hand it to him personally. And so that's what I'm going to do. When I left the property, I saw the cops rush to that area. The following week, I went and a woman is saying, hey, I kept walking. Next thing I know, an officer is behind me. Next thing I know, there's 4 officers telling me that I have to leave. As Brian said, I'm a civil rights activist and I've been to jail before and arrested, etc. And I told them that they're absolutely okay with arresting me. And we'll find out why I'm here, because I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have to get someone's mail and give it to them, but it's the incompetence of this property of why I'm here. And so you can arrest me, and that's fine.
The social workers at the VA they're constantly calling the police on the veterans and volunteers. So this is one of the things I spend a lot of time trying to mediate between the veterans and the social workers, which is absolutely ridiculous. But one of the things We have instances where a veteran will be in the shower past the hours they're allowed to shower. They're only allowed to shower until 3 p.m., which that itself doesn't make any sense to me. And if someone is in there past 3 p.m. and doesn't want to come out until they're done showering, social workers actually call the police. And then we have a situation where there's 5 police cars outside because one's in the shower. And it's I know that they're going to try to revisit the policy, but the way that they're 5150 veterans, I don't agree with that either. I've watched on numerous occasions where someone is going to get placed on a psych hold, and instead of like walking with them to the hospital or anything, the VA police say it's their policy that they have to handcuff them and put them in the back of the car and take them over to the hospital. Even if they're, not threatening to hurt themselves or others, they're being placed on a hold. It doesn't matter. Their policy is they have to put them in handcuffs. And this is being done in front of other veterans. And I don't think that is anything that is useful, and it's causing a lot of issues. And a lot of the stuff that's happening is they're really blowing things out of proportion. They're taking like very minuscule little problems and blowing it up into huge problems. And it causes everyone to get aggravated. And I watch it happen all the time. I'm in there Monday through Friday, and I'm constantly watching it. Even for myself, when I'm there throughout the day, it's the environment can be very toxic and very it's just uneasy. It's not a relaxing therapeutic environment like it should be. It's a very tense environment.
The VA is not wrong. The VA is not bad. The VA is a bunch of documents. It's a bunch of regulations. It's a framework. What's bad is the undue influence of the folks that are involved with this cartel that is trying to steal the land. And the reason that Los Angeles is the homeless capital of the United States, and it has been for decades, is because they have been evicting veterans and not following the law and letting these homeless disabled veterans use the land that we're paying over $1 billion for a year in federal taxes just for starters. So what's happening here is, as Rob was mentioning before, he was saying that, people are getting kicked out. He doesn't necessarily understand why. Well, this goes back to, last year where Rob had mic'd up and started talking to some of the folks who are running the CTRS programs. And we have them on tape, and I can provide you links to here on SoundCloud, where they're saying, we're being told by our bosses at UCLA, not the VA, UCLA, to not take anybody else in, to get people out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reason there's a coordinated effort to get people out is there are 2 things on the table right now: another master plan and a community plan. The master plan says, which is totally illegal, that it wants to basically declare about 320 acres of the remaining 400 acres of that land as park space. That park space includes the oil drilling operation. It includes the $46,000 a year K through 12 school. It includes the baseball field that UCLA has. And then they're saying that they're going to build housing for veterans on the remaining 80 or so acres, but that housing might not be complete until 2034. They were supposed to have 500 units of it done by 2 years ago. They've built nothing, but they've been getting hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer bonds to build nothing. So what's happening here is, when you're hearing about frustrations, when you're hearing about good people and taxpayers who care so much about this issue, having to fill out all this paperwork, you hear about veterans getting kicked out, when you hear about all this stuff, what's going on is there's a coordinated fraud here. It's a criminal racket, and it needs to be processed under RICO. This is not a joke. And so what's happening here is, if you look at this, there are nonprofits that are created by the illegal land users to divert public awareness and make people think that things are okay inside. Those people are the people that don't have to fill out paperwork, like Village for Vets, right? They go in there, they don't have to fill out anything. They just show up whenever they want, they do whatever they want, and they've been part of the systematic eviction of veterans from the home, because the founder of Village for Vets owns buildings across the street from the VA, is deeply involved with the parking lots at the VA, had been bribing Congressman Ted Lieu. I will declare this. This is not slander. This is a fact. They were bribing Ted Lieu sorry, they were bribing the contract officer of the VA and the parking lot operator of the VA. Both of them went to prison in 2019, excuse me. You know, and now they're running a veterans charity. And what they were trying to do is put them all, you know, down to the south edge of the VA and push them out into, you know, different landlords with HUD vouchers. Well, there's 400 acres sitting here that by law we're paying for. It has to be a home for disabled homeless veterans in the homeless capital of the United States. So what's going on here is people who have good hearts and veterans, right? When they want to go and volunteer and help someone out, they're either met by a private security firm rather than the VA police oftentimes. And who's that security firm hired by? That's a good question, right? Or you know, or they're met by the unduly influenced VA directors. They're told they can't be in there, right? It's a place for veterans. Well, disabled veterans, burn pit victims, go in there to help out, and they're told you can't be here. You can't donate anything to anybody here. Goodbye. And then if you ask a lot, then you get handed a bunch of paperwork asking you, literally, I'm not kidding you, for blood samples, fingerprints, background checks. None of these fake NGOs that are pretending to be veteran charities are filling out any of this. We are in a very dire, serious criminal fraud right now that is happening at this place. So while I've clarified that, I want to show you some video that I took today to give you an example of what's happening here. And I'm going to have to try to do this with my camera. So hold on, please. Hopefully I can twist this around. There we go. All right, so what you're looking at here is, this is just a frame of video I took today. This is the sidewalk that used to be packed full of homeless disabled veterans. This is what Robert Reynolds and David Echeverria were managing on a daily basis. There is not a single homeless veteran on this sidewalk right now, after years of it being packed with homeless veterans. We were told in our community that the only reason that all those homeless veterans were out there, we were told this by the special interest groups that are created by the illegal fraudulent land users at the West Los Angeles VA Soldiers Home. We were told those veterans were out there because they are all drug addicts who do not want to follow the rules. That was the answer that we were always given. That was the answer that was given to the media. That was a lie. When we got them inside, we proved that that was a lie. Okay, so let's go on to the another video piece here. This is the encampment here. Okay, so this happened in two phases. The first phase happened in March of 2020. Robert Reynolds and I got the first batch of veterans in, and they were intense. I think the mistake that we made in hindsight was that we were stressed, and we didn't think to try to follow up and be involved with the management of the camp once the veterans were inside. Because of that, those veterans were treated terribly. And then one day when I put a drone up, a few months ago, I noticed that a bulldozer was in the weekend getting rid of all the tents. And I said, what the hell is this bulldozer getting rid of these veterans for? And then suddenly they said, oh, that's where we're going to put the tiny homes. But they never meant to put tiny homes there. They were saying it because they had to come up with something, because we busted them systematically evicting veterans. But they did finally come up with tiny homes months later. These tiny homes are what these fraudulent entities that are trying to prevent veterans from using the land, this is what they're calling homes. This is what they're telling the Secretary of the VA to call housing. You can't even call these outhouses because they don't have a bathroom in them. Okay? Yeah. I and Senate and Jamie have pictures of wheelchairs, veterans, disabled veterans, combat veterans from Vietnam, physically disabled, in wheelchairs, in mud, stuck in mud. There's a little tiny brown building you see there in the upper right-hand center area. Those are all the bathrooms for the 80-something homeless disabled veterans. Okay? Now I'm going to show you something else. The building that you see just above this encampment is Building 220. Building 220 was designed and operated as housing for disabled veterans. However, in a baseball field lease for the UCLA Athletics Enterprise, somehow in a baseball lease, there's 3 building giveaways stuck into UCLA's baseball lease, and building 220 was one of them. This was in 2016. So in 2016, UCLA gets a baseball lease to build, to have a big baseball stadium that American Legion used to use as their baseball field. And there's 3 buildings that come with it, and one of them is 220. So that's why you don't have homeless veterans in there anymore. So there you have right there, building 220, sitting right there, right next to all those homeless veterans that have been trudging through the mud in their wheelchairs, who are the only legally entitled people to be housed there, let alone be there whatsoever. I have sent a zillion pieces of correspondence to the congressional oversight committees, the congressional veterans affairs committees, to the secretary of the VA, to the directors of the VA, to whoever I can think of. But if any of my correspondence says building 220, you will never hear anything back from them, because they know that that is an Achilles heel, because it is so damn obvious, the contrast of this picture right here. Building 220, okay? You could spend a month renovating this place. I mean, how long would it take to put twin beds in those rooms right now? So what does UCLA say that they're doing with this building? Well, they say that they are using it as a wellness center for veterans. Well, what the hell is wellness? It's a vague term that lawyers advise corrupt people to rely upon when they're trying to do next to nothing but steal land. That's what wellness means at the West Los Angeles VA. I want to let you know that there is nobody in building 220. As of March 16th, 2020, UCLA has ceased to use the building. It is entirely vacant, but they want it. And they believe that doing nothing with that building is more important than disabled homeless veterans dying on the streets of LA, getting sick in tiny homes. It's more important than a combat veteran with physical disabilities having a home.
Wow.
There's building 220 again. I'll show you some video here. Okay, we'll roll over.
Commander, by showing this kind of video to the Department of Veterans Affairs, and maybe we have to go to see the president and let him know what's going on. Maybe we can do that ourselves to let him know the way the veterans have been treating in West LA is unacceptable, But I like to see maybe if we can get some type of video. What Rob say early today was the security guard and all the issues that all the people have there with veterans. If you can put something together, or maybe if you have a testimony from some of these veterans, they're talking to us. It said, this is a problem I'm continuing to have it here, and how have they been treating me here. And maybe that video we can show not only to the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs, but also maybe we can go to the President of the United States and say, that we continue to have this problem. We bring the issue to the Department of Veterans Affairs, nothing happened. They didn't correct the problem. We still have the problem there. So I like to see how Ryan or somebody else, if you have some kind of recorder or video that you can provide to us, and maybe see how we can help each other,
Thank you, Commander. So I just want to show us one more thing here. Some of you may know what this is right here. That's the VA hospital at the WLA VA Soldiers Home right there in the top center there. And that big empty hole, what you see there, was the main parking lot for all of the veterans that need to use the hospital. It's gone. It's leveled. We're told that that is leveled. Well, we actually almost weren't even told why it's leveled, but I found out why it's leveled. Supposedly is because that needs to be a construction staging area for one of two $1.3 billion, 100% federal taxpayer funded Purple Line subways that needs to be built in time for the 2028 Summer Olympics. Okay? The veterans have no parking lot for their hospital anymore. The real reason there is no more parking lot there is because in the master plan that UCLA and an illegal land use cartel have drafted and have shoved down the Secretary of the VA's throat to sign off on it without any veterans being part of it, frankly, is because they're going to tear down the hospital too. They want to replace the hospital with 2 UCLA research towers. Okay, but you know, getting back to here, there's what used to be the parking lot. Okay, and here's one of the Purple Line stations. Now, this Purple Line station was under development for 1 year without an easement, and at least half that time without even any contracts. So let's ask ourselves here. LA County is amazingly resourceful. We can see that without even a contract, without even an easement, they can rip up all this land illegally and start building a subway. We can see that they can take away the entire parking lot for a veterans hospital. We can see that they can put together a task force of sheriffs to try really hard to arrest a bunch of homeless disabled veterans before they can get inside their home. Okay?
I'm going to summarize.
But they can't seem to do anything that could give a veteran a tent, that could give a veteran something like an outhouse without a toilet, right? They cry that we just can't do that. We have to go through years and years of bureaucracy. No, they don't want to do it because there's a fraud going on. So I want to close this by saying there's a fraud going on. It's a criminal fraud. It needs to be prosecuted under RICO, and we need to get these criminals off this land.
Amen.
I think it's we think it's very informative, you know, and it's good to have Zoom meetings and talk about the situation with Veterans Row and just in general the entire ordeal with the fraud going on with the land. Too many people, I believe, are not aware of what's going on, and there's others that will just dismiss it as it's not true. That's not really what's going on. So they're not, informed of the situation. And in regards to, like the volunteering, I actually went on the website and I can't even find the form anymore to fill it out. But I feel like I kind of knew it was going to happen, where they were, once they went inside the VA grounds, everybody that was helping the vets were going to be pushed out. That was just the feeling that we all got, and it's making it difficult because we already have built a relationship with all these guys that, it's not like we can just go in and talk to them, especially now with the rain. We can't just go in and deliver donations, anything that we want to take. It's getting really hard, and it shouldn't be. They didn't care what you were bringing to them while the guys were outside of the VA grounds. Why are they so supposedly they're controlled, and that they claim they care what you're bringing to them, and that the clothes is new because of COVID. Well, they were outside, they were getting all of this stuff, and they didn't get sick. It's just, to me, it's just ridiculous how they're handling it now as opposed to when they were outside. We were able to deliver water or anything that they needed, we were taking to them. Now the guys don't even have water. Why shouldn't they be providing water to the guys as needed? Shouldn't it be available to them? They shouldn't have to be asking for it. Yeah, they didn't even have food for Christmas. So, it's like some days no water, they said, yeah. It's like, why are they making it so difficult?
To make veterans go away. What was his phrase? Lie, deny, hope you die. That's your answer.
I guess on my closing statement, I'd like to thank Secretary of the VA for housing those 500 veterans by the 1st of January. Wait a minute. I don't think it happened. Did they? I'm confused. I thought I saw a tape where he said he was going to get those folks inside the wall and at the same time house another 500 people by the end of December.
Well, 499 of them are at the Columbarium.
Oh,
Oh yeah, there you go. I I didn't believe it then, and I certainly don't believe it now.